everyone, my name is Zachary as always, and today we are talking about Kang's appearance in Loki Season 2 and just a little bit of a quick theory. So, we know how Renslayer, in the episode, slipped a TVA handbook into this version of Kang's home as a child, which led to him making a bunch of experiments that, didn't really work. He was basically full of crap, because he was basically just taking stuff that was totally ahead of his time from the TVA handbook. So we meet Mobius and Loki at this fair where this version of Kang is presenting a temporal loom. If you don't know what this is something that was introduced in Loki Season 2 and helped the timelines that were branched stay somewhat stable to an extent and stop the TVA from crumbling to the ground. Anyways, so we see him and we see how at the end of his thing, we figure out how he's basically just full of crap. I mean, though he is intelligent, he's not as intelligent as people might think because, he came up with all this stuff and just experimented on it further from the TVA handbook, which it started off, and Renslayer, really, if you think about it, created several branches to the timeline that really messed up things, and it's very possible that she made a lot of things worse and somewhat set things on track at the same time, because think about it this way. She is not on the exact same mission that she was on in Season 1. In this case, she is out on a completely different mission apart from the TVA. And she gives this handbook because she knows it will affect the future in her, and it will help her and, Miss Minutes to an extent. So, yeah. Anyways, so an implication is, with this new tech, we really get to see how some other versions of the TVA were formed. Because with this tech, he can build upon this. And this would also explain a lot about Ouroboros, or Obi, as we know him. And this would explain the creation of the TVA, and how this version of Kang probably became the king that Sylvia killed in Season 1. Very possibly. Because if this show's building up to everything that this character's going to be, his mannerisms, his personality is very much similar to the one we see in Season 2 episode, which I think is very interesting, and the implications of this are even more interesting, because we get to find out so much more about the creation of the TVA and Renslayer's part in all of this, and how she and/or Miss Minutes are going to be the main villains of this, and we're going to see how we're going to need to protect this version of Kang and make sure that the timeline is set correctly, because I think, at least, that something really bad is going to happen to this version of Kang that will turn it into what we had in Season 1, the Kang that was in that thing at the end of time. All right. So, yeah, and so we use this technology, create the TVA. It implies itself, essentially. And we figure out how he's kind of a phony. And that's very possibly where he got the idea for the timekeepers. And we see how he is a master of trickery. He's the opposite side of the coin to our boy Loki in this situation, which I think is interesting for character. And yeah. So yeah, that basically wraps up all the points I wanted to talk about this episode. If you all enjoyed this video or any of my other content, please consider subscribing. And I'll happen to see you in the next one. Goodbye.